Hello everybody, here I am in Le Pantheon. So this was built from 1763 onwards as the Church of Saint Genevieve by the architect Jacques Germain Soufflot. Indeed, he's buried in the crypt, and it is gigantic. Not quite as big as Notre Dame, but it really puts Notre Dame in the shade aesthetically. So it's neoclassical, it's got a portico outside, but the artwork is just exquisite. So magnificent, so many luxurious paintings. Go closer to some of them, and I can't even begin to scratch the surface. You look at that. Look at the intricacies of the ceiling, everything carved in there, in the various domes. You see the columns, it's got that golden mean at the front, the 3:8 ratio with, I think, their Corinthian columns. Anyway, so then the revolution came, and the National Convention, as in the Parliament, said, no, this will be the Pantheon. So like from Greek, all the gods. They had abolished Christianity. They briefly brought in the cult of the Supreme Being as their religion. But anyway, outstanding Frenchmen and eventually French women were laid to rest here in the crypt. So they repurposed the church. And it's got all sorts of scenes from French history in these enormous relief sculptures, as well as the frescoes and so forth. So it's just a visual feast. So various people like Denis Diderot laid to rest there, the encyclopedist, and it says that how he sort of paved the way for the revolution, because there was that movement. They thought if they could collect all the information in the world in a rational manner, people could access it and make decisions on the basis of facts and not just the argument from authority, not just blind faith. Followed after the physiocrats, a similar intellectual movement in the middle of the 18th century. This is the French Enlightenment, something that the absolute monarchy and certainly the Catholic Church didn't like at all. Then we see all sorts of scenes from French history, various luminaries, including Louis IX, Saint Louis, the only French monarch to be canonized, and there he is in the middle up high doing justice. Well, the radiance of light makes it impossible to see him. I'm just trying to angle the camera so you can actually see him, but ironically the light is falling on him so much you can't really make him out. But you'll have to come here yourself, though the captions are mostly in French. One of the major decisions was taken. In the very early days they were in Latin, but they said, come on, let's make this accessible to the masses and not just those with higher education. But the vagaries of French history meant obviously that the monarchy was restored in 1814, the fall of Napoleon. Then he came back in 1815 for the 100 Days. Then the Bourbons come back again. You see these biblical scenes, and they've got inscriptions in Latin down the bottom, but I won't bother to translate them. Anyway, and then there's the July monarchy from 1830, and then there's Napoleon III, but he's president in 1848, and then he makes himself emperor in 1851. So because they did a lot of this work then through the 19th century under monarchies, sometimes it started to honor monarchs and Catholicism, and monarchism and Catholicism went hand in hand in France. Here is Jeanne d'Arc, Joan of Arc, being burnt at the stake. And as it says, there she's kissing the cross, and right up top, as an English soldier, he's sort of lighting the faggots. He sees that a dove flies out of her mouth because she's a saint and she's breathing the name of Jesus, and one of the English soldiers says, we've killed a saint. So here she is in the 100 Years' War, helping Charles the Seventh win back the throne, saying the Archangel Michael, the Archangel Gabriel appeared to her, a 17-year-old peasant girl from eastern France. Half the people in her village supported the Duke of Burgundy, who was an ally of the English. But we would now recognize that she had auditory hallucinations. She was mentally ill, the Maid of Orléans, as if she helped recapture the city of Orléans. For a 17-year-old girl to command an army would be astonishing these days. But, for the 15th century, it was unimaginable, but it happened, and that's how awe-striking it was. Anyway, captured by the Burgundians, sold to the English, and in a completely unfair trial, convicted of heresy and sorcery, and burnt as a sorceress at the stake at Rouen, then under English control, canonized in 1920. So after the First World War, they really wanted to shore up Catholicism. And many more, biblical scenes. So there's a crypt below where the most distinguished Frenchmen and French women are buried, and there are black French people there as well as mostly whites. Félix Eboué, born in the West Indies, the French colony, the grandson of slaves, was later governor of French Equatorial Africa, i.e. Chad, and so on. Aimé Césaire, distinguished politician and writer. So here is a model of it. This is the portico I was talking about. So resembles an ancient Roman temple. You see that the dome and the cupola up there. And it's a cutaway model, okay? See what it's like inside, and the crypt way down low. So, and it's very close to La Sorbonne, St. Francis' most distinguished university. Lycée Louis le Grand, as in named after Louis XIV, France's most reputable secondary school. So on Lycée Henri IV, and a few other things like that, okay? So there we go, that's what it's like. Le Pantheon, inside Le Pantheon. If you look at the ceiling, embossed with, I'm not sure, these sort of floral symbols. They're astonishing, the effort and the detail went into all the minutiae of this, and down into the crypt. But anyway, the memory will run out quite soon. But just giving you a flavour of it, these enormous statues, and here's Lazare Hoche, who invaded Ireland in, August 1798, just too late, 2 months after the rising of the United Irishmen. Had he arrived a few months earlier, that might have worked, but it just didn't manage to coordinate. It sort of went off half-cocked prematurely, because of course they couldn't time the winds and the tides. Down into the crypt. Crypt as in ancient Greek for secret or hidden, that's what it says. Crypto-fascist or whatever. Crypto-communist. And like encryption, decryption. So it was almost empty. Anyway, fantastic. This church of St. Genevieve, Soufflot, the architect, he's laid to rest here for all eternity. In a sense, quite plain and empty down here. I was thinking Notre Dame is almost bland compared to this, but this is just aesthetically splendiferous. But upstairs, the crypt, not so much. I suppose, look, Rousseau, Jean-Jacques Rousseau. Doors you can open, and his hand out there holding the flaming torch. The Swiss guy who was eventually naturalized as French, who wrote exclusively in French. You know, the new Eloise, that novel, The Social Contract, its various discourses. Man is born free, yet everywhere he is in chains. I'm reading his autobiography. And so it goes on. So there are various grottos, I suppose you'd call them. Sometimes there's several people buried. Some of them are in alphabetical order, many of them not. There are not that many more spaces. Who gets to be interred here? Charles de Gaulle turned it down, insisted on being buried in a plain grave in Colombey-les-Deux-Églises, his home village in northeast France. Him being a very self-effacing man. And so we go on. Okay, I'll switch it off quite soon because we're running out of memory. A lot of Chinese tourists, because it's Chinese New Year, they got a fortnight off of school from late January, early February. This is for various people who fought in the resistance in the Second World War. Oh, Josephine Baker, an African-American woman who was here, a famous entertainer in the 1920s and 30s, part of the resistance, wanted racial equality in the United States, adopted lots of children from different races. She was offered to go back and lead the civil rights movement in the USA after the murder of Martin Luther King, but said no, she didn't want to leave her children an orphan. Okay. And another person who fought against the German occupation in the 1940s. Okay. And look up there, the Alpha and the Omega, the first and the last. Okay, and that is the Greek alphabet. And so we go on. I won't show you everything. It's just as big down here in the crypt as it is in the nave and the choir, and it's got more information on the various people. So people of all religions here, it's not got any religious dedication, because of course the French state is secular. Okay, and so there are other writers, politicians, generals, and so on. And right over here at the end, you can see Jean Moulin, French communist resistance leader. And who's the other guy? Another famous leader of that time, André Malraux. Okay, all right, and you can hear their voices. But I'll switch it off now. Well, thank you for watching my video about Le Pantheon. Goodbye.